Ladies and gentlemen, this is example number 5.
One, two, three, four, five. Everybody in the car, so come on, let's ride to the liquor store around the corner. The boys say they want some gin and juice, but I really don't wanna be a buzz like I had last week. I must stay deep, cause talk is cheap. I like Angela, Pamela, Sandra, and Rita. And as I continue, you know they're getting sweeter.
Indeed, they are getting sweeter. Now, in an ideal world, all I would do, because all I'd need to do, is play 5 or 6 laps of footage and say nothing, because just by watching it, it would prove everything I'm saying. And all the strap-on boys that want to jump up in the comment section and go, yeah, but it's not that. Yeah, but it's not that. Yeah, but what about this? Yeah, but what about all this irrelevant bullshit that they keep coming out with and thinking that they've got a point, thinking they know something. All of it will be perfectly clear for everybody to see that they're just making noise that's not relevant to the points being made. Anyway, Monaco, 2013. Bearing in mind, I've given 4 examples from the 2012 season, one of which I'm going to have to do again because F1 TV have had that removed from YouTube. The one that Crofty declares to the world that the safety car rules have been changed for that season, whereby the lapped cars are now released. So we're now into the 2013 season, the season after the first season where the new rules kicked in. And this is the first time where the safety car has been deployed and has been lapped cars in situ. So, like I say, I would like to just play this through and you'd see exactly what takes place, but the recording will get barred from YouTube. So I've got to do some stills and I've got to do little bits of footage that show you what's going on. Anyway, lap 29 of the race, and it's just about to go into lap 30. So the leader, which is Rosberg at the time, is just about to begin his lap 30. And Brundle and Crofty tell us this.
I thought I'll let you deliver the punchline. The double yellow is being waved, Martin, down at Sandon. Martin, it's for Felipe Massa.
So, Felipe Massa in his Ferrari has crashed out, quite a heavy crash, because he goes sideways in to that set of barriers, which is pretty much a, quite. It's not a 90-degree turn, but it's pretty much like that. So it's a heavy impact. So I'm going to then try and pick out the bits that are relevant, show you the safety car procedure, and show you what happened. So, bearing in mind we're at 2013, and over the duration of Formula One, over the years, what we get is the evolution of procedures, evolution of safety procedures. We've got marshals trying to remove this car, and they are just off the track. Now, whilst there are double waved yellows being waved, which makes the drivers slow down, these guys are still in harm's way. They're still in a risky position because cars can still lose control. And if a car lost control and went straight into this marshal, he'd be dead. Okay, he'd be dead. So, again, we see things that have happened in the past which would not be allowed to happen today. This is what happens. We evolve as a species. The rules change to try and ensure safety. Part of that is safety and looking out for the welfare of human beings. Part of it is litigation culture. Part of it is that the sport is scared that if they don't put into place these measures and somebody does get injured or killed, then the sport itself can be sued for millions of pounds or dollars. Okay? It's a good thing that we're looking out for the safety of people, but just bear in mind that this is an evolutionary process. The things that you may have seen go on in years gone by are not allowed today. There's that evolutionary process, the evolution of health and safety rules, health and safety laws, and the processes that all companies have to go through, of which Formula One, the FIA is one of those companies that have to comply with, in order to comply with health and safety law, and in order to get insurance for this sort of thing. Okay, so if you don't know anything about it, and you don't understand it, and you don't know anything about what health and safety is, don't jump up in the comments section and say, you can release the lapped cars while there's marshals still on the track. You can do that, you can do that, you can do that. Because when you say that, it just shows you don't know anything. It shows you're a little child that doesn't understand. When I say to you, they couldn't have released the cars any earlier at Abu Dhabi because there were marshals on the track, it means they couldn't have released the cars any earlier at Abu Dhabi because there are marshals on the track. So whatever you think, you might have seen a race back in 2012 where at the Australian Grand Prix, example one I gave, you might have seen a marshal on the side of the track and then the sign on the screen saying lapped cars may now overtake, and you might have gone, there it is, look, there it is, look, there's a marshal on the track, there's a marshal on the track, see, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, which is, you know, what you strap-on fans are like. And the reality is these days, you can't. It's called an evolutionary process. And I will point to the 2015 Japanese Grand Prix. Go and look at what happened there. Go and have a look at that race. And the aftermath of that race changed a lot in Formula One. Changed a lot of procedures. But it's an ongoing thing. Also, look at the 2022 Japanese Grand Prix. See what did happen there. See what excuse was given by the FIA. But see what happened to the race director for making that decision. You didn't see him again. They decided to keep with one for greater consistency. That wasn't the real truth of why that you don't see that race director anymore. But that's a different matter. Evolutionary process of how these things are dealt with. This is what they were doing to deal with Massa's car at the Monaco Grand Prix. It would not be allowed to be dealt with in this way these days. That's the way things go. As soon as you get a car that's crashed like that, and marshals need to be anywhere near the track like that, certainly this side of any barriers, and potentially in harm's way, we get a safety car. And what we do, even before, unless there is a driver in serious peril that needs immediate medical attention, right, then what you will see is these marshals wouldn't even be in this position until those cars are under control and at a safe speed. And then those cars will not be released from that train until this debris is cleared up, until then marshals are the other side of the barriers. That's the way it works. So just because it happened back here didn't mean by the time that 2021 came along, you could still carry out this sort of process in this manner. It's the evolution of process and rules. So let's look at the accident.
Again, Mercedes not responding. It's only yellow flags turn one, but if they think it might be a safety car, surely they've got a box now, haven't they?
It's double yellows. Let's see what happened to Felipe Massa. Another lockup, absolutely identical.
See, heavy impact sideways on. Okay. So we clip through onto lap 31 now. It's just turned onto lap 31. Bearing in mind, when we get the announcement that there was yellow flags at turn 1, I believe it was, or whatever turn it is, Rosberg had just started lap 30, which means the accident must have happened just before lap 30 to get the announcement that there are yellow flags there. So we're now on lap 31. And just after Vettel's pit stop, we now get the announcement of the safety car. Okay? So I'll, again, play you through the key things.
And then to the pits, the leaders stay out. Rosberg and Hamilton stay out, and we have now got a safety car situation. First time this year, the safety car has come out onto the track.
So the first time this year for the 2013 season.
For 2 laps, they have to go around at a controlled pace that the safety cars put out, so you can't.
Okay, so Brundle's explaining to the fans of the sport what needs to happen.
Go rushing around and making up time. They don't want people going past the incident trying to make time. As Adrian Sutil then.
So again, he's explaining that you have to go around at a controlled pace. You can't go speeding around the track. Certainly don't want to allow the drivers to be going past that incident at excessive speed, because it's all about safety.
Finishes his pit stop.
And what you see there is that Vettel and is it Webber, I believe it is, they've been picked up by the safety car, but they're not the leaders of the race. The two Mercedes are running 1 and 2, and these guys, certainly prior to Vettel's pit stop, Vettel was in 3rd. Which means that Hamilton and the leader Rosberg are further around the track. And these cars are going to have to be released. These are going to have to be released past the safety car. And what you see here is the lapped car. They're not the lapped cars, sorry. The cars that the safety car has picked up, which, because he needs to actually pick up the lead car, not cars behind the leaders first. He releases them. Mercedes are now pitting, and these cars should be going around at a controlled pace. But you'll see that although Rosberg and Hamilton were running 1 and 2 with Vettel in 3, Mercedes being ahead on the track, and with these cars having slowed down behind the safety car, Mercedes should have time to double stack them cars and get out, and still get out before these cars come round, and so then it'll be pretty much the correct race order behind the safety car, but with lapped cars in situ, being if any cars have been lapped. So that doesn't actually happen, because there is. If you watch this fully, you'll see that the Red Bulls seem to not comply with the delta, get around the track a lot quicker, and Hamilton comes out of his pit stop in about 4th position, with the Red Bulls in between him and Rosberg. But that's not the key point of this video. The key point is the unlapping procedure to the lapped cars.
Drivers up, and then we'll do a double stop. It's a free stop for them. That worked absolutely perfectly for Mercedes-Benz. They can get back out. The safety.
So Rosberg had just pitted, then Hamilton had timed it, so he just came in immediately afterwards. He backed off slightly.
Because they're leading the race. The safety car will then.
What's that just gone by?
Now it's released Red Bull. They've both gone through. Now the safety car has to pick up the leader again.
Well,
so you can tell by Brundle's tone of voice, he's a bit confused by that.
it's not worked out, has it, for Lewis Hamilton, who now comes out behind.
I thought that had worked out perfectly, they were telling us.
Both of the Red Bulls. It has worked out for Nico Rosberg, who is ahead of Sebastian Vettel as they go through Casino Square at the moment.
Yeah.
So, what caused that problem?
So it's worked brilliantly for one man, but not necessarily his teammate.
They're trying to tell Grosjean to go past, and they released the Red Bulls very early in that process. Here's the accident.
Once again, locking up Martin and just not.
So they released the Red Bulls very early in that process. These processes evolve. They learn. They look at what they did in the past, and they learn their lessons to evolve the rules going forward to make sure that how they do it produces the safest possible procedure for dealing with incidents. That is the way that things happen in life. And once again, kids, rather than jump up in the comment section telling us what you think, time to learn, okay? Because we don't need to hear the opinions of twats that don't know, all right? Because your opinion doesn't carry the same validity of somebody who knows what they're talking about. It's not one of them situations where, oh, I think this, but I think this, and two people think different things, but they're both equally valid. It doesn't work like that, kids, okay? You might have been congratulated for voicing an opinion when you're at school, but if your opinion's wrong, it's irrelevant. You should be told, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Shut up. But you kids got a certificate for participation, and now you think that you've achieved something by being able to voice what you think. So when the real world hits you in a few years' time, you'll realise that that's not the case.
Certainly sitting down there, Felipe Massa, being helped by the doctors.
You're right. Because they released the Red Bulls so early, they got round. They're supposed to be at a controlled safety car pace, and it's hurt Lewis Hamilton badly.
Yeah.
So this is Rosberg, and the safety car has picked up Rosberg. We're now on lap 32.
And it's hurt Lewis Hamilton badly.
Yeah.
It's worked out beautifully for Rosberg, badly for Hamilton, because the Red Bulls were able to scamp around, and effectively they virtually were leading the race, and now the safety car got to pick them all back up again.
So we're going to be in pretty much race order, but not quite.
We nearly had a different race leader. So they were released because they weren't leading the race, and they almost did become the race leaders.
But as you can see now,
so again, they learn lessons to realise what point that they need to release the cars. The procedure is still in its infancy to some degree. They're still understanding the best way of doing these things.
so
I tell you what, the Red Bulls got round seriously quickly, considering for the first 2 laps you have to go at they get a time up on their dashboard if that system's working, which I believe it is now. For the first 2 laps, sort of the earliest time of arrival somewhere, but they soon scampered
Looking cool.
around there.
right place.
So what we're seeing is footage from F1 TV of the crash site, which is what is normal when we watch a Grand Prix. If there's an incident and we're going past the incident, we're seeing it, and we didn't see that in Abu Dhabi because F1 TV barely showed us any of it. So this is the crane at that corner that lifted the car off the track. This Mercedes estate here that I'm trying to circle is the medical car. You've still got a marshal here, which you might see on track as they're going, as the safety car train is going by, but they don't release the people from that safety car train until these guys are clear of the track these days. Back then they might have done, right? Back then they probably did. But again, they realise that once a car has been released, they're going to speed up to try and scamper around that track to catch the back of the pack. So therefore, by these cars travelling faster, although they're supposed to be still travelling to a delta, they know that the drivers are going to try and make it round as quick as they can. So you do not want marshals this side of the barriers. You've got to make sure they're clear of the track before you enable the cars to go faster again. Alright, but you can see the clear up operation, the car's been shifted, but the medical car is still there, trying to deal with Felipe Massa and check that he's okay. Lap 34. So again, a bit further around lap 34, we're getting this message played through by F1 TV.
Safety car lights go out, you control the pace, okay? You control the pace when the safety car lights go out.
So again, lap 34, this is like preparing us as viewers to think, okay, the safety car period is going to be ending soon. Just clipped onto lap 35. So we're on lap 35 of the race, and Crofty has to say this.
And the lapped cars can now overtake and unlap themselves. So
lapped cars may now overtake, which is car 21, G. van der Garde. Okay, one car has been lapped, and that has been, or is now being allowed to be released.
And that's Guido van der Garde. He's the only one a lap down and running in 20th place at the moment.
I don't know why they
What's Martin saying? What does Martin not know?
bother with that. I really don't.
You don't know why they bother with that. So it's been the rules. You played by them rules the entire of the previous season, which was 2012. You're now into 2013, and you're still saying you don't know why they bother with that. You've not gone and asked Charlie Whiting to explain it to you, Martin, but instead you're giving your opinion as to why they do it. You don't understand why they do it, but you're actually presenting your opinion. Note you strap-on boys, you like giving your opinion as well. without having the factual information or the understanding as to why. Okay, Martin, no wonder you like Martin. You know, you've got a similar kind of mindset. You tell us what you think. I don't give a shit what you think. This is what it is. Okay, there's a difference. They're not equally valid opinions. One is what it is, the other is your opinion based on what you think, but what you don't know. So shut up.
Really don't.
They brought
it
it in.
Delays this race too much.
They brought it in to make sure that when we had a restart later on in the race,
They brought it in to make sure that when we have a restart later on in the race, well, why do they do it now? They do it at any point in time where there's a safety car and cars have been lapped. Doesn't matter at which point in the race it is. Doesn't matter whether it's early stages. It's generally not going to be early stages because generally speaking, you're looking 20 laps or so into a race before the leaders make it round to the tail enders to start lapping them. Okay? Sometimes an incident can happen early in the race and a car end up losing time and getting lapped that way. So that occasionally happens. But more often than not, it's at least 20 laps into a race. But regardless, the procedure is carried out at any time where a safety car is deployed and cars have been lapped. Doesn't matter whether it's the middle of the race or the end of the race. The procedure is still the same. The procedure is the procedure. So your explanation of it, Crofty, is even wrong because you're explaining it using reasoning that's not the actual reasoning. Because if you're just trying to say, oh, it's for later on in the race, well, why are they doing it now then? Because your reasoning doesn't hold true, does it? So find out what it's for, educate yourself with what it's for, so that you can educate the fans with what it's for, so they don't end up being ignorant twats that don't know what they're talking about, but like to argue that they think they do, and that they think it's because of this. Shut up, dickheads.
there were lap cars in between the first and second and third, they wouldn't get in the way or interfere.
Well, just let them drop back then to the back of the
Doesn't work like that, Martin.
crocodile. We now got to wait for Van der Garde to make his way through a weaving bunch of Formula One cars and head off into the sunset.
You'll see what happens with this.
And theoretically, to allow him time to get to the back of the pack.
So, you've just said it, Martin. Theoretically, give him the time to get to the back of the pack. You've just said it. And I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to repeat what you've just said.
Formula One cars and head off into the sunset. And theoretically, to allow him time to get to the back of the pack.
I think if he did that...
So Martin said, this is what we've got to do, is let that lapped car get round to the back of the pack, right, theoretically. But now Crofty is explaining why Martin's hypothesis, why Martin's suggestion as to what he thinks should happen isn't right.
He'd then be a further lap down, I suppose. And you'd have to rewrite the computer program on the timing screens.
So what you're saying, Martin, is your suggestion is not that good. Let him drop back, so you're making sure that they're lapped an entire lap behind the competitor that they previously probably weren't that far behind. It doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. So we're now riding on board with this guy in the green car that is that lap runner that is then going to be passing Rosberg and the safety car. So let's just play it on.
Take that into account into the next stint. It'll be difficult.
Right, so we've seen him pass the safety car on lap 35 of 78. Right, listen to what Brundle and Crofty say about Guido van der Garde now.
So we're now seeing Guido van der Garde start to unlap himself. Has no curse, Guido van der Garde.
I'm just stopping it just to try and ensure that this isn't blocked on copyright.
No curves in the world, but he's now got a free track in front of him. But that means we now extend the safety car period another lap, which...
That means we now extend the safety car period by another lap. So you do know, Brundle. You do know that he's been released, and now we've got to do that another lap. You know it. You saw it happen 4 times in 2012. We're now doing it for the first time in 2013. Although you're objecting to it, although you're not explaining the reasons, you still know what the process is and what the procedure is. And this is in 2013. So he's been released on lap 35, which means lap 36 has to be a mandatory safety car lap, and theoretically we can go racing again on lap 37. That is the way it goes. That is the way the rules are. Let's see what happens.
Actually, most of them out there are probably quite pleased about. Who can get 43 laps out of a set of tyres?
I'm going to fast forward to the relevant bits now.
Let's see the restart in a few moments. This is going to be a difficult one for Nico Rosberg, but Ted, down to you first.
Yeah,
So lap 36, they're anticipating that we're going to go racing on lap 37. So when I first saw this, when I'm playing it through, I thought, this is a bit cheeky. Old Guido van der Garde has then gone in the pits. So he's been released on lap 35. He's blasted off around the track on what his lap 35 is, because remember he's a lap behind. And then the leaders should be coming round across the start-finish line now to restart the race. And they're not that far back round the track, but he's coming to the pits for a new set of tyres. I thought, that's a bit cheeky. But if you follow this on through, you'll see why, and you'll see what his team knew.
relevant in terms of that, and I agree with you, Martin, then he wouldn't have told him. But
I need to...
I guess he was just saying, look, the trend we're seeing with your tyres was that, you know, you really did pretty much knacker them out there, and just please take it carefully. But, well, track position...
So they're coming round to complete lap 36 now. So let's... are they going to get going? Well, doesn't look like the safety car's gone into the pits, does it?
Position is still king, and Nico Rosberg still got track position.
And it's still out there.
Lewis Hamilton, I just saw him right behind Sebastian Vettel. Mark Webber.
And there they are, they're on lap 37 and they're behind the safety car. It's just ticked over onto lap 37 now, theoretically, with Van der Garde released on 35. 36 was that mandatory safety car lap. They could go racing on 37.
Webber, I should say, desperately trying to get a bit closer behind the safety car. He's a little bit too close on this.
But what do we see here? This is the crash site. This is Massa's car. What's here down in the bottom right hand corner? It's that Mercedes estate medical car. They're not going to go racing again with a car parked on the side of the track, because if a similar accident happens to Massa's, okay, or slightly different where it comes this way and crashes into a car as opposed to a deformable barrier, somebody could die. So the consideration is not always about these are the set procedures, this is what you do. It's looking at the whole picture and seeing what is going on. The medical car is still there, hence they can't go racing. Now, these days, they probably wouldn't have even released the lapped cars knowing that that medical car was there, because them lapped cars would then be speeding around the track trying to recatch the back of the pack. And again, if they lost control and slammed into this, there could be a major accident. So they'd probably wait till this medical car got out the way before releasing them. But back then, this was the decision-making process and what happened. But the teams, Van der Garde's team must have probably realised we're not going to go racing on lap 37 because that medical car is still there. So you can come in and get a free pit stop, make it back out, and then go scampering round and catch the back of the pack, and then we'll go racing. So they knew they could pit him and it would be okay. That's the way things are. Learn about what's going on. And it just pans out, and there you've got the medical car, you've got a stretcher there. Okay? You can't go racing again with that where it is. That's the way it is.
13 minutes we've been running behind the safety car. This will be where Jenson Button got his place back on Sergio Perez.
13 minutes so far we've been running behind the safety car. How long do these things take? They take some time, don't they? And how long will they wait?
Yeah, Jenson stuck to the circuit, basically.
Yeah.
So this bit, I'll just play that a bit soon. Here we go.
So 13 minutes behind
What car is that?
the safety car. That's the medical car.
So there you go. The commentators themselves, they don't know enough. They didn't know enough to realise that you're not going to go racing with that medical car still on track. They didn't point that out to fans as they were going past the scene. Instead, they were saying, oh, we think we're going to go racing soon. Oblivious to procedures, oblivious to the necessary mandatory safety procedures that they're not educating the fans about. These fans that come up thinking they know things that they don't. But look at what's happening. Look at what's real, and look at the words that they're saying which don't hold true. Them suggesting that you can go racing. Do we go racing? No, we didn't. So them saying that you can doesn't mean you can. Let's look at what actually happens and look at why what actually happens. Because there are reasons, and I am telling you those reasons, but you don't want to hear them reasons because you want to go, oh, well, Brundle says we could have gone racing, so we could have gone racing. No. That's not how these things work, dickheads. No, because Brundle says you don't have to release the lap cars. And it's not for sporting fairness, it's so that they get out of the way of the race between the leaders. Shut up, dickheads. You don't know what you're talking about. End of lap 37 as the safety car peeled off to go into the pits. Let's have a look.
Sounds very encouraging, I would say, that message.
Just a bit.
And it's almost... Nico wants...
No! Lap 38. We've gone on to lap 38 and still behind the safety car. Bearing in mind, Massa went into that barriers. A roundabout is lap 29. Rosberg was just going on to lap 30 at that point in time. We're now on lap 38. How many laps are we losing in this race? Okay, they're short laps. They are short laps. And also, a medical car has been out. It wasn't just a clear case of lifting the car off the track, although the crane was right there. There was a crane actually sighted on that corner, so that lift-off operation was quick. There wasn't too much debris to have to clear up. They would have had to check the barriers. Okay, so that would have taken time. But that medical car was there, so that does prolong the process. But look at how many laps have gone. It's not straightforward. And so we're on lap 38 of 78. 8 full laps after the incident, and we get the message safety car in this lap. Let's have a look to see if they say it, because you can see it on screen at the bottom there. Race control safety car in this lap.
So safety car coming in this lap then, and we can get racing again at half distance in this Monaco Grand Prix. So it's difficult.
Okay, I'm going to just play it through. Well, I'm going to try and see if they show us any footage of Van der Merwe's car and see where he actually ends up on the restart. I don't know if they will. But I'm going to fast forward it through so that, again, it minimises the chance of this being blocked on copyright.
As Rosberg just backs them up a little bit, lets the safety car away. And the safety car...
So the safety car peels into the pit. I don't know if it will show us the back of the pack as to see whether the lap car, I think I've called him Van der Merwe, but they use that name as the driver of the medical car. So I've got that bit wrong, but it's Van der Gaard, who is the driver of that green car. That we'll see if we can see him at the back of this pack. We may or we may not, I don't know.
Car now goes a bit and get racing again as they stream through Rascasse and on towards Anthony Noakes. It's Nico Rosberg who leads this Monaco Grand Prix.
Always bear in mind what we're seeing. We're seeing the cars pretty much nose to tail in the correct order. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, all the way down to the last remaining competitor. It happens every single time. Since 2012, that's the way it will be. The only time that will not happen is if a car takes a pit stop during this procedure beyond the window which they effectively are allowed to be released and get their sales up. Then at that point in time, they're not eligible to be released. But as long as they don't do that, which they won't do unless it's an emergency procedure, right, then these cars will always be released. They'll always be given at least one full lap with which to try and attempt to catch the back of the pack. In this case, this guy was released on lap 35. We didn't go racing on lap 37. We're now going racing on lap 39. But what we also know is part of that delay is the fact that the medical car was still on track. These are all factors. And as I say, these days, they probably would not even release the lap cars whilst the medical car is still on track. They would wait for that to get out of the way, to clear the track and the track to be fully safe before they even release those lapped cars. So don't you think that this is an example of being allowed to release the lapped cars at any stage? It's not. Remember, kids, it's the evolution of the process and the development of their understanding as to what is required for the safe procedures and processes that they must go through. Anyway, let's have a look.
So far so good for the man out in front. Down the main straight we go. And look.
They're not showing it, but I'm going to see if it shows us it in a bit. Wait there. I think the best I can do is this graphic on the side of the screen here, which has got the gaps between all the competitors. So Rosberg the leader, Vettel in second. Now, you know, we've gone over the start-finish line, and this is the gaps between where they are. So Vettel at plus 0.9 of a second, Webber at plus 1.5. This is the distance back from the race leader. Okay. So half a second there, half a second there, about less than a second, but a second, you know, half a second there, half a second there, half a second between these competitors. Approximately, that's what you've got between the second and half a second, all the way down. And here we are, 20th. 19th is 13 seconds behind Rosberg. 20th is 13.5 seconds. So he had caught the back of the pack. He had caught the back of the pack. So Charlie Whiting is doing this procedure and he's enabling the released cars, the released lapped cars to make it round to the back of the pack, or at least fairly close to that, and then enable racing to restart. Happens time and time and time again. Now, the 2012 regulations don't specify that the safety car will stay out there and complete one additional lap. It doesn't state that. Okay? So I think that's something they brought in just as a way of trying to speed things up. But it's still at least one lap. And it's still a case of race director has overriding authority as to whether or not he chooses to keep it out there for an additional lap beyond that. Okay? So this is what it is. This is what it is for. There always has to be a reason. You don't just have random rules for no purpose whatsoever. There's a reason. And it's not the reason that Brundle and Crofty are telling you it is, so that they get out of the way of the race between the leaders. And the next video will evidence that in its entirety. The next video, number 6, will completely evidence everything I've just said. So look out for the next one, part 6 of the Safety Car for Dummies series. It will be the 2013 German Grand Prix, and you will see in its entirety the purpose of the rules. See you next time, you crazy kids.